Shoto, Todoroki, and Listener were best friends. Everyone knew that. They were inseparable, being through thick and thin together and had always been by each other's side. This was a good thing for the jewel-haired boy, as he wasn't one to make friends easily. Listener was one of the few people that bear through his "I'm not here to make friends" phase, and got very close to the boy. She was talented at making things. Her fighting grades were good. She also knew several languages and had a few hobbies. Those qualities were what interested Todoroki to hang out with her. Listener also encouraged him to talk about his problems. She was the first person he told about his family issues. As soon as Listener heard this, Listener enveloped Shoto in a tight hug. At first, Shoto didn't know what was going on, so his reaction was awkward and stiff. He didn't know whether he should hold her or just stand still. That was the first time he had received affection from someone other than his mom or sister, which was a very long time ago. In a way, that was his first hug. Okay. Later, Listener explained it ever so sarcastically, and in between laughs, it was normal for people to show affection like that. At that time, Shoto couldn't explain the tightening feeling in his chest, or why his cheeks were bursting red that matches his hair. That had been months now, and the two of you were as close as ever. Shoto's feelings have grown deeper and stronger. When conversing with Fumi, he learned why he felt very happy when Listener was around. The boy kept his feelings for Listener for himself. That day, Listener and Todoroki were sitting at their usual spot in the cafeteria with the rest of the Deku squad when Listener pulled out a book and started reading it, her eyes in a deep concentration, scanning every line. Todoroki observed with curiosity, his eyes wandering the open book, and he found himself staring at foreign letters. He must have been staring this for some time because Listener looked to meet his gaze. Shoto tilted his head to the side with a confused expression. "What language is that?" he questioned. "Russian," the girl answered. "Seems interesting," the dual-haired boy commented. "It is." Her eyes sparkled and she smiled. She then focused her attention on the book. Even though her eyes were on the white page, Listener's mind seemed to be somewhere else. He looks so cute when he gives that confused look. A ghost of a smile appeared on her features. Shoto wondered what the girl was thinking. He had known Listener long enough to read her like an open book. Later that day, when he returned home, Shoto freshened up and rushed towards the kitchen. As expected, his sister Fumi was already there. She was placing bowls on the tables, preparing lunch for the boys. "Oh, hey Sho, how was school?" she asked in her cheerful voice when she noticed the boy come in. "Sorry. It was alright," he replied and sat down. Fumi placed the bowl of soba on the table. "I made your favorite," she said, smiling. Todoroki took his chopsticks onto his hand and absentmindedly poked his food. The girl raised an eyebrow at his odd behavior. "Fumi, you know Russian, right?" he asked all of a sudden. "A little bit. Why?" "A friend of mine knows Russian, so I thought it might be interesting to learn." "Does his friend happen to be the girl you always talk about?" "Listener, was it?" Fumi had a playful smile on her lips. Shoto's cheeks flared up into a bright red, sending Fumi into a fit of giggles. The next day, Todoroki arrived early. The class was deserted. He placed his bags on his respective chair. When he heard the classroom door open behind him, Listener walked through the door, with the same book clutched in her hands. She went to her seat. She sent a smile towards Shoto and dropped her bags on her chair. "I can't believe no one is here yet," she said, walking up with him with a disappointed look in her eyes towards her classmates. "So, you still haven't finished reading the book?" Todoroki asked, feeling the need to change the subject. When did the air get so thick? What am I getting nervous for? No, not yet, but I will soon. Haven't read a book in Russian in a long time, the girl replied, rubbing the back of her neck. I suppose Russian is interesting? How come I've never heard you speak Russian? My voice sounds weird. Listener, is that the best excuse you can come up with? Seriously, I expected better from you. The boy was now chuckling. Fine, what do you want me to say? I don't know. Anything, I guess. The girl thought for a while. Her eyes widened for a second before a hint of pink coated on her cheeks. She cleared her throat. It was a stupid decision. It's fine though, cause he won't understand the meaning. If he asks for it, I'll just have to lie. This was a foolproof plan on her mind, as listener blurted out the words to Shoto in Russian. Her feelings for the door quirk user had been concealed for quite some time now. It felt good letting them out. As soon as the words slipped out of her mouth, she was agitated, taking sudden interest in Momo's desk. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Shoto's hand gently cupped the side of her face. His touch was gentle, his fingers felt cold. He made her face him. Listener saw that he was blushing a deep red, just as she was. I learned a little Russian from Fimi, he said. Todoroki closed the distance between them. Listener felt his lips on hers. She gasped before melting in. She moved her hands to the back of his neck as Todoroki placed his hands on her waist. She lanced her hands in his hair as they deepened the kiss. They pulled apart when they heard the classroom doorknob rattling. Kaminari and Kirishima walked in, Bakugo walking behind them with his usual scowl. They seemed to be in a deep conversation that they didn't notice that Listener and Todoroki were blushing furiously, their lips pink and breathing heavily.